This is video 2 in my mini course on mastering buy and hold rentals. Right now you're going to learn the 2 most important rules in real estate, the 1% rule and the 50% rule. The first helps you decide if this property will cash flow, and the second helps you estimate expenses. A lot of people, even those who consider themselves experienced investors, will tell you the 1% rule is outdated and doesn't apply anymore. And that's BS. The 1% rule is simply a way to gauge price to rent ratio, which is very important to making money. When people say the rule doesn't work anymore, what they're really saying is that they are comfortable buying properties that aren't going to cash flow very well. And that's a bad idea. Here's the 1% rule. Whatever price you pay for a property, the rent should be at least 1% of that purchase price. So if you buy a house for $200,000, that house needs to rent for 1% of that, or $2,000 a month. If it doesn't rent for $2,000 a month or more, then it's probably not going to be a good rental property. You can use this as a way to quickly check if a property you're thinking about buying is going to cash flow well as a rental. Right here in Montgomery, Alabama, you can buy a $250,000 house that will rent for $1,700 a month. Nope, it doesn't pass the 1% rule. It would have to make at least $2,500 a month to pass, not $1,700. A couple of miles away in a different neighborhood, you could buy a $90,000 house that would rent for $1,100 a month. So this $90,000 house needs to rent for at least $900 a month, and it rents for $1,100. So it has surpassed the 1% rule. That means the $90,000 property in Montgomery, Alabama is a good rental property, and the $250,000 one would not be. While this is not a perfect estimate by any means, it is useful in comparing similar properties or even properties between cities. Let's move on to the 50% rule, a great way to ballpark your expenses for a rental property. The rule states about 50% of your rent will go to expenses. The other 50% is actually cash flow. But remember, the mortgage still needs to be paid out of that cash flow. So with $1,000 rent, 50% or $500 is expenses, the other $500 is profit, but you still have to subtract a mortgage from that profit. Let's say the mortgage is $300. $500 cash flow minus $300 mortgage, that leaves you with $200. How could expenses be 15%? That seems so high, Rich. I've had rental properties for the last 20 years, and I'm here to tell you that's not high. Here's a ballpark breakdown of how this 50% actually works in percentages. 10% is for property management. You could do it yourself, but you should still calculate this because your time is money. 15% is for repair and maintenance. 10% is insurance and property taxes. Remember, this is often already built into the mortgage payment, so adjust your calculations for that. 5% for vacancy. 5% is definitely the minimum, because in reality, it'll be higher. And 10% for CapEx, capital expenditures, big purchases that come up periodically like appliances, roof, HVAC, water heater. These have to be budgeted for, especially if your money's tight. Your expenses could be less than 40% if you self-manage, but not a lot less. If someone's trying to tell you your expenses will be much less than 30% of rents, they're lying to you to get you to buy and hoping you're not smart enough to run through the numbers yourself. But you are smart enough because you follow Rich on Money. The next video will go into all the details on calculating more accurate expenses, instead of just using the simple yet useful 50% rule. This will allow you to become much more accurate in your predictions. You're welcome. Rich on Money, signing off.